Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the closed session meeting of August 22nd, 2024. The time is 5 p.m. Madam City Clerk, will you please call roll?
Councilmember Duncan.
Here.
Councilmember Garner.
Here.
Councilmember Thorpe.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable.
Here.
Mayor Bieber.
Here.
All present.
Thank you, ma'am. Public comment for closed session.
We do have one card for Dr. Hanson Wong.
Dr. Wong, please come to the podium.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak before the closed session. Hanson Wong, Yucaipa, California, District 1. So again, on the closed session, you have the bigger picture, you know what it's about and so on. I only have what's on here to go by. So I premise it with that, and if I'm out in left field, you'll have to throw the ball to me. So thank you. So basically on your item agenda A, it says that our city manager is going to negotiate with Pacific Oaks Industry. As far as I could find, there's no other project for Pacific Oaks Industry in town, and there might be that you're talking about. So the only project that I see is the warehouse. Now, there might be a variety of reasons why you're doing this before we even decide that they're going to happen, but this is the year of perceptions, unfortunately. And perceptions are how people view things, and the view might be that you've already decided on this, and therefore you're having a meeting to discuss terms and price and so on. And most likely it's not. I don't expect to answer. I just want you to think about it in the perception. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor.
No other comments.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, we will move into closed session. The time is 5:02 p.m. We'll see y'all back here at 6.
Yes, sir.
You guys got quiet fast today, like on your own too. All right, everybody, welcome to the Yucaipa City Council meeting, Successor Agency and Housing Authority meeting of August 26th. August 26th, 2024, the time is 6 p.m. Captain Walker, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand and face the flag. Ready, begin.
Yep. Madam City Clerk, will you please call roll?
Councilmember Duncan,
Here.
Councilmember Garner,
Here.
Councilmember Thorpe,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Here.
Mayor Beaver,
Here.
all present.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. City Attorney, can we talk about closed session, please?
Good evening, Mayor. On item B on our closed session agenda this evening, the City Council gave direction by a vote of 5-0 to initiate litigation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, changes to the agenda this evening, please.
No changes this evening.
Thank you.
Mr. Beaver,
Sir?
can I make a motion to table number 10 until the 23rd of September?
Stop. We are not doing that. That was not for you. That was a motion for the council. Thank you.
I've been talking to a lot of the property owners and
Okay,
stuff
hold on a
over in
second.
that
Mr. Mayor
area.
Pro Tem. I understand you're the community. We will have decorum in this meeting. That was the way this meeting works, is he makes a motion and it's discussed by city council and city staff. Thank you for your input.
Yeah, but you're talking with like for your child. You can nicely say this, you're not gonna reprimand us.
I just did. Thank you for your comment, sir. All right, there's a motion on the table to continue the meeting until the next city council meeting. Is there a second?
Not this, not next, but the 23rd of September.
23rd.
I'll
23rd.
second.
Seconded by Councilman Duncan. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? So the way this works is either we have an orderly meeting or I have the sheriff's department clear the chambers and we continue with the meeting. Okay? Let us finish. That's the second time you spoke out of turn, sir. Okay. I will have the sheriff's department have you leave the room if you can't control yourself.
I think you should apologize to them.
I apologize. We were going to have order in this room, though. All right. I didn't hear. We'll do a roll call vote because I didn't hear it. Madam City Clerk, will you please initiate a roll call vote?
Councilmember Duncan,
Yes.
Councilmember Garner,
Yes.
Councilmember Thorpe,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Yes.
Mayor Beaver,
No.
motion carried.
Moving on to special presentations, Tyler Technologies Software Implementation Recognition. Madam Assistant City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Well, with this item, I am proud to announce that the City of Yucaipa just completed the largest technology project implementation to date, Tyler Technologies Cloud-Based Software Solutions Project. The multi-year project was approved by City Council in the fall of 2020 to replace antiquated software systems that have been used by the city for almost 2 decades that were not integrated, thus creating business workflow inefficiencies, redundancies, and manual functions. Now all of the workflows on the right of the screen are in one centralized system. The project kicked off, as I said, 3 different phases, and the ERP financial module was completed in November 2022. The human capital management, which is payroll and HR, was completed in 2024, and the EPL was completed in June 2024. At this time, I would like to introduce Ryan Blackerby, the Deputy Director of Finance, to present Phase 1 ERP financial model.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for giving us this moment to highlight this important work that so many of us have accomplished together. So the first phase of this long journey was to implement the financial module. The financial module was first because it is the heart of or the hub for the rest of the modules that came after it. Depending on what date you use, we started this implementation process in early of calendar year 2021, and it went all the way through our go-live date in November of 2022, though we found that go-live date doesn't necessarily mean that the work stops right away, but we did go live in November of 2022. Munis, which is another name for this enterprise ERP system by Tyler, is not just a tool that we use to supplement our work, rather it's the entire system that we do most of our processes as a financial department inside of. It lives in there. So this implementation really forced us to rethink all of our processes and design and build them from the ground up and customize them in the way that fits our new processes. So because of this implementation not only included finance staff, but it did include staff in other departments as well to help us test the system and ultimately to learn the new processes that we were building from the ground up in this process. So the financial module consists of the functions seen on this slide here, which include our general ledger, budget creation and processing, accounts payable, and many more. So prior to Munis, prior to this Tyler ERP, our processes were mostly manual. Approval of purchase orders and invoices all happened on the physical documents themselves that got handed around City Hall to get all the appropriate signatures. Tracking of operational and project budgets happened on decentralized, manually created spreadsheets. There was no automatic budget control for payment of invoices. The budget was compiled and prepared on spreadsheets that were all linked to each other and had a hard time opening and would occasionally freeze in the middle of working. Transactions from our cashiering software would have to be manually prepared for importing into our accounting software because the two systems were not integrated. No, that's not me in the picture there, though I'm sure I looked like that many, many times. Now with Munis, approval of invoices, purchase orders, vendor approvals, budget adjustments, so many things that we do, all happen inside the software digitally. So for example, when I click approve on a purchase order as the head of my division, it immediately goes into Phil White's queue to give the final approval as the purchasing officer. All of this happens within seconds with all of the appropriate backup documents attached to be viewed at the same time. Now when we create an accounts receivable invoice, the cashiering system at the front desk knows it exists as soon as we create it. And it can take payments against it and then submit all the related accounting transactions into our accounting software virtually, instantaneously, and automatically. Now the entire budget preparation process happens within this system, starting from the department requests for budget all the way through the end final posting of the budget into the system. Now users from all departments can have access to the same up-to-date, current and historical accounting data in real time. And not just the data, but copies of invoices, contracts, checks, etc., all within a few clicks. Now we have a centralized project budget and accounting information system, including tracking funding sources, all within the system that we have access to. We have improved internal controls, including but not limited to a built-in three-way match process with separation of duties and improved budget control. I could have made this list longer. Suffice it to say, we are definitely in a new world of efficiency and productivity now that we have implemented this software. I could easily talk longer in general too, but I want to make sure there's plenty of time for my fellow teammates who are all involved in the various phases of this process. But I'm also happy to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Ryan. Is there questions of staff?
No.
We have more of a presentation.
Oh,
Okay, so at this time, I'd like to introduce Courtney McCray, Human Resources Manager, to present Phase 2, Human Capital Management, related to payroll and HR. Courtney is presenting, but I would like to recognize Jessie Lance over there, who did 99% of the lift of this module. She came from the city of Redlands, and they had implemented the same software, and with our light staff, she was able to kind of pick up the whole module to complete, and then Courtney came on in the last 6 months.
And I will reiterate what Jen said. Jesse truly did most of the legwork on this. I came in pretty much and just kicked this across the finish line, or the goal line. I don't watch sports, sorry. But Jesse really did the boatload of the work on this, so she definitely deserves the credit. So I want to make sure the credit is given where it's due. But for the HCM, or the Human Capital Management module, it's essentially a portion of the ERP that Ryan just spoke about, but it has several different modules. All of them are essentially just to simplify the payroll and HR processes. The HCM modules, they integrate the employee data, they improve many efficiencies across all of the HR and payroll processes, eliminate a lot of data redundancy, and empower the employees with access to information that they didn't previously have. So this is a broad overview of the improvements to the payroll processes, simplified for you. Payroll is now completely electronic, where before it was pretty much all manual, done with paper timesheets, and that could range from anywhere to 120 to 200 staff every single pay period that Jesse was having to track down timesheets, get signatures from supervisors. Now it's all done electronically. It's all just hitting a button and entering your time electronically. It's all processed in-house instead of third-party outsourced, and it's all in a centralized system. So we used to do it in an antiquated system, spreadsheets, and a few other components that all did not sync together. Now it's all in one system. It syncs to the GL, it syncs to HR, so it's all a very centralized process now. And I think the key component that Jessie can attest to, it used to take 2+ business days to process, and now she can get it done in about half a day to 1 business day. So for the HR processes, there's essentially the employee database is now all centralized, just like the payroll. Again, previously all the HR database was also in an antiquated system. We used Excel spreadsheets to track a lot of things and physical personnel files, so it was not a very efficient system that we had before. The new system gives ease of access to all of our employees, so they can all now log in and access their timesheets, their payroll documents, their tax documents, everything that they need without having to come ask payroll or HR. They can make changes to a lot of this information electronically. Same thing with their benefit enrollments and their performance management. It's all done electronically instead of on paper forms like we did previously. And I think, like Ryan just alluded to with the budget, all of our staffing projections, or our costs for our staffing projections, are all done in the system now rather than on a spreadsheet like we used to do with the budget. So we're able to actually budget salaries based on what staff, or in steps and ranges staff are at currently, rather than just assuming and making assumptions on Excel spreadsheets. So the overall benefits for the ACM system as a whole, a reduction in staff time, both in payroll and HR, increased efficiencies and accuracy, both in our processes and for information for the employees, and increased transparency for the employees as well. Very brief overview, but if you have any questions about the HR systems, I'd be happy to answer those.
thank you, ma'am.
If not, or unless you do, we'll keep moving.
Questions for HR?
Well, I don't have any questions. I just want to make a comment. So basically, you folks brought us into the 21st century as far as our management of our
Correct.
data.
We were very behind the times with our systems for HR and payroll.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am?
So the final phase, Phase 3, Enterprise Permitting and Licensing, known as the EP&L, totally different lift involving 5 separate functions: engineering, building and safety, planning, GIS, and code enforcement. And without Chris's support and authorization to allow 10 subject matter experts to be a part of and dedicated to this phase, we would have not achieved the end product that we have now. So we thank you for giving us that ability to collaborate and dedicate thousands of hours to complete the final phase of this project. At this time, I'd like to introduce Maddie Jordan, Associate Planner, Katrina Kunkel, Associate Engineer, David Fredbor, Charles Abbott Building Official, and Kelly Witt for Code Enforcement.
Thank you, Jen, and good evening, Mayor and City Council members. So I'm going to talk about what EP&L is. EP&L is a customizable software system that allows customers doing business in the city of Yucaipa to apply for permits and planning applications, track status, and schedule inspections through an online customer portal called the Yucaipa Permit Exchange. Some key components of that system include 24/7 online access to this customer portal, electronic plan review with digital markups, which means no deciphering chicken scratch or messy handwriting into the future, streamlined processes with creative automations integrated, and online payments. Additionally, by customizing new and clear workflows, we have set the stage for increased internal and external transparency and have improved our customer service processes. Mobile applications for code and field inspectors have also increased staff productivity and efficiency when completing inspections and field checks off-site, reducing paperwork back in the office. So welcome to the Yucaipa Permit Exchange, the new customer portal. This is where all the magic happens. So first, a customer will make an account. This account is tied to their email so that it ensures that they get proper notifications when the status of an application changes. Secondly, this is where they apply for applications. So this includes building permits, engineering encroachments and plan checks, planning entitlement applications, and also minor code applications such as a temporary sign permit. While we also still have a formal city clerk public records process, there's functionality for this search public records icon, which is a quick tool where anyone can search a parcel or address and pull up application activity that is associated with that said property. This includes legacy data from applications that are applied for previous to this new system and is a convenient resource to direct customers to if they are looking for history on a property, which happens quite often in the planning world. Additionally, you can request for inspections via the portal. This is for building permits and code enforcement inspections, and customers no longer have to call into an inspection line to schedule. They can do it all within this interface. This is also saving staff time from having to call and coordinate this run sheet every day, and ultimately the system can do this for us. Another key component is that customers are able to pay invoices online. We've even had people pay right on their mobile device on their phone at City Hall, which is pretty crazy. So really there's no need to come to City Hall from application submittal to permit or application approval. Finally, there's a quick link to research property, which takes them to our GIS zoning layer for some additional resources. One of the things our team considered throughout this implementation process is how can we use technology that we already have at the city to support this new improvement that provides residents of Yucaipa access development services quite literally at their fingertips. That said, we used ArcGIS tools available through our existing contract with Esri to create innovative help resources for the public. These resources can be accessed under the Helpful Links tab that we created as a drop-down on the customer portal on that Yucaipa Permit Exchange homepage. Another example of this is our customer how-to guides that we created to support navigating the new Yucaipa Permit Exchange interface. Rather than a static PDF, we created a mobile application that feels more interactive with animations and custom icons, which can easily be utilized on a mobile device. This simplifies long-term maintenance as well if there were to be any changes down the road, because we can edit any of these items and it will update the link in real time. Another example is some checklists that we made for the planning division that are all digitally hosted using ArcGIS tools. The reality is that while the system offers fully digital services, we still do interact with the public and serve people at the public counter on a daily basis. So these were created with that in mind. We're not robots yet. These checklists will support conversations at the public counter and ultimately provide customers a take-home tangible deliverable that provides direction for next steps in submitting their project proposal. They are also hosted on the Yucaipa Permit Exchange portal as a helpful link that can be accessed by customers directly within that interface as well.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Thank you. I get the lucky thing about talking about fees. So one of the exciting features that we built into this program is it's not just a sample fee, not just an estimation. Every single permit, every single planning application, engineering application, the public, the developers, can punch it in and get exact fees, exactly to the current fee schedule, development impact fees, every fees. We've gotten some positive feedback from that, from the public, because there's the transparency, there's no more surprises, like, I didn't realize I owed that at the end of a project. So that was something that we're excited about, instead of just giving an estimate and go talk with planning or whatever. And then the next part, which Maddie already touched, but we use very extensively on a daily basis, is everything's parcel-based. So the public can get online, staff, we use it all the time. All we do is click on a parcel on the map. We can see every permit, every inspection, every code enforcement case, and it's really, really reduced the time that we spend researching items. And that is also used during our inspections. We can look it up, we can add an inspection, and our paperwork's done in the field. We're done before we leave the site. So our productivity has really greatly increased. And now I think I pass it over to Katrina Kunkel.
Good evening, Council. I'm going to talk a little bit about the process on how we got to a final product. So this slide is just giving a rough idea of what creating a workflow and configuring the program consisted of. Staff was tasked with creating 234 permit workflows, 23 planning application workflows, and several development code workflows as well. Items that we required for consideration for each workflow consists of 6 different components, roughly. First off, it was the customer portal design. How does each applicant know what to apply for? How do they know what attachments are required? And how can we as staff kind of preemptively answer the questions that they have? So understanding what are common questions and implementing those into the program, so that's just up front, kind of helping staff and the customers as well. Second, as David mentioned, the fees. So we wanted to integrate the fees recently adopted by City Council to trigger appropriately for each type of application. Some are depend on square feet, some are done a flat fee, occupancy types. There's a lot of different ways that fees are triggered, and just understanding how to integrate that into the system so that they're calculated appropriately. And then next would be we had to think about what staff is required to complete the workflow. So this kind of goes from taking everything that's done in an office and might be verbally done or email done and integrating it all into the system, so it does it a little bit more automatically, or at least gives a guided program for anyone that takes a new position in that role. So what staff is required? We'd have initial quality control that comes from our techs that are at the front counter, and they determine if the application is complete and appropriate. So that's kind of the first step. And then we have to determine for each of these 250 plus permits, are there other divisions involved, and how do we integrate the workflow so that it gets to the correct people. For example, an encroachment permit might need to go to the planning division if there's a large, like a mobile home is coming in. So that's going to integrate with multiple divisions to ensure that everyone is kind of on board. Is there an inspection required to make sure that we get that scheduled, and that also goes to the inspector. So programming all of these components so that it flows seamlessly. And then also, are there outside agencies like utility purveyors, the school district, sometimes the county, and how do we integrate those outside agencies so that they're notified from the system as well? What if something goes wrong? How do we notify applicant of errors or that they need to resubmit? Who needs to be notified when the city receives resubmittals? So sometimes one division might have an issue, but the others don't, and kind of getting it to the correct people. And finally, do additional fees need to be triggered? One of the new fees that was set up, we now do a flat fee. So after so many plan checks, new fees might be triggered, and just making sure that that is captured with the system. And then what is the final product? Permit, sign plans, conditions of approval, all of these are forms that we had to design and configure and make sure that they accurately portrayed the information that we want to get to clients or customers, and make sure that's integrated into the system. Staff continues to kind of tweak the system and workflows, adding new configurations, minor adjustments, and that based on experience, and then feedback from the users as well. And then this slide just talks a little bit about the benefits. So we went through this long process of configuring, I believe it was a 12-month process, Jen, to kind of get everything configured. And the benefits, there are the 3 points here. So as Maddie said, you can apply online anytime. So this opens up submittals to after office hours. That's kind of available anytime. It keeps you from having to come into City Hall. And then you can also make your payments instead of having to do it at the register, which is how it was done before. You can now do it from anywhere. The digital e-reviews. So there's no paperwork. In engineering, for example, you would have to submit 3 sets of plans, and then red lines. And that's they're big, they're bulky, and it's very expensive. And now everything is done digitally. You submit once. Your red lines are captured within the program, so you can track everything in real time. And there's just no more printing, taking things to an outside agency to print or things like that. This reduces staff time, and then it also allows for like real-time collaboration. So different divisions can all be in that same plan at the same time, and you can kind of see how other divisions are making comments and adjust yours to make sure you're not double commenting, but also it's a better way to keep all of those comments together. So right now, like we would get 3 sets of plans. One might go to planning, one might go to building and safety, and one might go to engineering, and then someone has to get all of those comments, compile them together. Now they all live in one place online, which is better for us and better for the customer. And then finally, as I was just kind of talking, it's a centralized system. It's live updates. It's just a benefit really to everyone who's using it on both the in-house and the user end. So now I'll pack it back to Maddie. Yeah, back to Maddie.
So with Katrina talking about the streamlined processes, one of the really exciting ways that the Yucaipa team leveraged the system is using automations to improve processes, customer service, and also save staff time. We have set up the system to automatically generate and deliver important documents, including planning notices and permit job cards. This saves space in our internal hard drive and also reduces redundancy. There are a couple examples on the screen for our notice of public hearing, and then essentially a school district form that fires off to the school district via an automated email. We also did some improved branding with those items as well. We also set up the system to send automated emails such as invoices, permit and plan corrections, planning application status notices. These are among a few, but there are others. And finally, we coordinated with external agencies, including the Water District and School District, to assist customers with their unique applications and requirements associated with these outside agencies. So to get a permit or a planning application through the city, it doesn't necessarily mean it's just the city involved. There's other agencies. Through creative integrations like a due diligence email, helps ensure this new system can stand up as truly an entirely digital system, that customers do not have to come to City Hall for other agencies' hard copy forms or requirements. Ultimately, through collaboration, we were able to integrate our processes with the needs of other agencies too. And then finally, given this is a completely customized system to Yucaipa's operations, we thought it would be extremely valuable for long-term maintenance to create standard operating procedures for our processes. This will help ensure that the system is sustainable and resilient in the long term, helping to train new staff members, but these also may be referenced to help backtrack any operations or decision points that may need clarification or further improvements into the future. As Katrina said, we're open-minded to feedback, and there's still some things to be considered in the long term. These documents are shared within an internal hub for staff members who use the system to access as needed. And then I'm going to pass it over to Kelly Witt from Code Enforcement.
Hello, Council, Mayor. While our Code Enforcement Department has always had a software system, the EPNL, to track our cases, the EPNL offers a more streamlined, modern approach to some of our enforcement inspections. The inspection and enforcement module that we are using is called IG Enforce and IG Inspect. This is a platform that's designed specifically for an iPad use. So this is an efficient method for and effective for both our code officers and our inspectors. So what does that look like to our inspectors and enforcement officers when we get out into the field? There are two slides or two screenshots up here. The one to the left is what our inspectors will see when they bring up their daily inspections. Docked far to the left, you'll see it has a case address, the status of the case, and then just to the right, it'll have a pin that indicates the location of the violation or the inspection or the permit that we would be inspecting. Once we get to that location, if you look to the screenshot to the right, that is a shot of the application that we would be using. When we first started creating and configuring our workflows, it was all done on a desktop. It looks very different on the iPad, but it still has the same features, the same functionality. We're able to look at the case summary, we're able to read the details, upload photographs, upload documents. We can, if a case has failed its inspection, we can certainly schedule the reinspection right out in the field. If it passes and all violations are brought into compliance, we can close the case out in the field. It is real time, so if we close something or make any modifications to the inspection out in the field, they can see that in the office in just a few seconds. What else do we have here? That's about it for the IG Enforce and Inspect. The next area, kind of function that we have with our new system is reporting. We have a visual graph here, an illustration of different violations, whatever's pertinent, whatever the greatest violation has been in the city. They can all be kind of data can be configured to whatever report you're looking for. We have reporting on open cases, closed cases, the number of violations, the number of inspections that have been done. Something new is a case, is a year over year, month over month comparison, but several different reporting functions are available through the new system. So that's it for me.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there questions?
Questions?
Yes. Now, are we going to be able to come to City Hall and see somebody face to face? I have some friends that are concerned about this. One of them came in and they said everything's digital now. You have to go through that. Are they going to be able to come to the city and get things solved, or is it all going to be on computer?
You can still sign in. We've got the platform out front where you sign in, and our queue-less system will alert us that somebody is in our queue, and we will address face-to-face those individuals. If somebody wants to talk to a specific code officer, they can certainly schedule an appointment too. But for the most part,
Permits and everything?
we do have, and permits as well. We do have somebody in the office at all times.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the slides that I showed a little bit back to, with consideration for that, we don't want this to be something in which we're not talking to the public. So some of the checklists that were created, they are available online, but really they were within the frame of mind of the expectation is someone's going to come to City Hall and we're going to direct them to apply online, but we still want them to be able to feel that face-to-face interaction, and we're actually sending them on their way with something that is tangible that they can take home and then not just be told something, they actually have something to reference back and have that verification as to kind of what that next step is. So definitely we're still available and want to hear from you.
Thank you. Oh, one more.
I want to make one more quick comment on the public service side of it, is we took a very long time on our permitting side, so now our job cards are tailored for that job only. Like a swimming pool won't have a cell site inspection on the job card. It'll be in correct order, what you need to do in order. And we've used that as a tool with people at the counter, you know, owner builders, that want to do it. So, yeah, we very much welcome the public to come in and have us help them. We're there to help.
Okay, great.
Okay, the next component is I'd like to introduce Gabe Gardner, Network Administrator.
Good evening, Council. Kind of the theme running through this is the emerging technology and bringing us up to speed. So IT was heavily involved in all three phases. Just kind of a brief overview. We reduced the total cost of ownership. We consolidated operations to like a single platform, a single pane of glass to look at it. We're insulated from ongoing hardware and licensing costs, and minimized hidden cost with a multi-fixed rate contract. Disaster recovery assurance, cybersecurity protection. We have enterprise resource for increased availability and uptime, our data and backup replication, and a layered redundancy to protect all our data. As Tyler is a large company, we are leveraging the capacity for the city, so modernized solutions, popular with local municipalities, improvements driven by larger organizations are instantly available to us, benefit staff and citizens by eliminating the need for like custom solutions.
And last but not least, David Villalobos, our GIS technician.
In the previous system, we had for permitting, we had our data separate from our maps. So having to update both sides, it creates lots of time that has to be spent on working on it. And sometimes one aspect isn't updated and the other is, and there's a disconnect between what they see in the old permitting system and the current maps. With this new system, our maps are connected to the permitting system and code enforcement and planning applications. So whatever they see on a map, they'll find in the system. The system will pull all data that we get from the county assessor concerning parcel information. And it'll also pull our own data from our general plan into those various applications to help the staff figure out what needs to be done for each permit plan or code enforcement case. For example, every time a code enforcement case is created, the territory for a code enforcement officer is automatically added so we know who needs to follow up on it.
Thank you, David. At the end, when we went live up until today, these are the key highlights that we've achieved since go live, which is the last week in June. So you can see we are churning the permits, planning applications, and code cases. This is the team on the last day of implementation. I can kind of say we are very excited for this day to hit. We had a very successful go live. There are a lot of cities that don't have the kind of success that we did, so we are very proud of our accomplishments. This is a quote from SDI, one of our consultants that helped us through the project, and basically the whole theme through it is staff that were selected came prepared, they completed the tasks on time, and they contributed every day with the focus of what's going on and what's the best way to serve the community. I think it is obvious that the entire project has been a huge lift for the organization. The individuals that we are recognizing this evening are referred to as subject matter experts, who were selected to design the workflows for the modules pertaining to the areas of their expertise, and most importantly, are not afraid of technology. These individuals considered the organizational needs beyond the current processes, understood the scope of data and how it could be utilized today and several years to come in the future. All of this means invested an immense amount of time and effort into this project, on average 6 days a month for at least probably 48 hours, working on various Tyler teams or working with various Tyler teams to build customer workflows. And this does not include what we considered their homework before the next round of meetings. And because of our team is so lean, these individuals were still required to keep up with their typical responsibilities, with assistance from other coworkers and many late night hours and weekends spent at City Hall to address the total workflow. The city team continued to meet deadlines and provide excellent customer service, which is the goal of our city council. So at this time, with Anna's assistance, and if we could have you come down, I am honored to introduce your SMEs for all three phases for this project implementation. I think we all need to be very proud, and the community should be proud of what service now we are providing to the community. So IT, the backbone of all three phases, Gabe Gardner, David Villalobos, Kevin Johnson. Phase 1 Finance, Ryan Blackerby. Yeah, you guys, please come forward. I'm sorry about that. Phase 2 HCM, Jesse Lance and Courtney McCrae. And Phase 3 EPL, Code Enforcement Kelly Witt and Pamela Swantek. Engineering Katrina Kunkel. Building and Safety David Fredborg. And Planning Ben Matlock and Maddie Jordan. Did we get Kevin out here? Okay, you guys need to kind of merge in together. And I'll come forward as the project manager.
So we realized, obviously, that the city of Yucaipa was operating in the Stone Age, and we asked all of you folks that were up here a minute ago to carry on a task that you had nothing to do with the building of. We were behind the times at no fault of your own, and you guys stepped up and did more than what your job requirement asks of you. You did substantially more because you were expected to work weekends, holidays, after hours, and still get the day-to-day operation of the city done until we can get to a point where we can be more streamlined and efficient. So thank you for putting in the extra effort because our city was so far behind the times and getting us to the point where we can serve the community better. Our next item of business is the public safety update, so we'll move to Captain Walker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This will be your July 2024 public safety update for the Yucaipa Police Department. In July, we saw calls for service remain very close to what they were in June, 3,627. You see that May number was significantly higher, but this remains in our right about our average for this time of year. So while it's a slight decrease, they still remain within our normal time call for service numbers, and we still maintain that 4-minute average to emergency calls for service within the city limits. Part 1 crimes for the month of July. As you can see there, 3 reported sexual assaults, 3 robberies, 22 aggravated assaults, 10 burglaries, 14 thefts, 8 motor vehicle thefts, and no reported arsons for the month of July. Arrests for the month of July, we had 124 arrests. 82 of those were adult bookings into one of our correctional facilities. And again, a common theme, as of most months, those were mainly narcotics-related offenses, warrant arrests, domestic violence type incidents, and things of that nature. Our Traffic Enforcement Division for the month of July wrote 204 citations and investigated 28 traffic collisions. If you remember, in the month of June, that citation number had dropped. We had a vacation for one of our traffic enforcement deputies, so he has since returned and the number is climbing back up. The team, the 2 of them, also conducted 67 proactive targeted enforcement operations within the city, just meaning, like I've mentioned before, that as we get complaints from the residents of the city or the city itself of problem areas, they try to target those areas. And then they also made, as a station, 12 DUI arrests for the month of July. Our SOP team, again, they made over 100 contacts within the community over the course of the month. They received 32 transient calls for service, meaning those calls came in through Sheriff's Dispatch. We had 48 complaints or reports that came in through the Yucaipa app in the month. Out of all of those contacts, we had one subject accept some type of assistance, and then we had one subject actually accept some type of housing, so we were able to get that person into a temporary housing for, again, just a temporary time. The team made 38 arrests. They towed 1 vehicle. They did 44 business contacts, 16 park patrols, 10 property checks, and then again, they just continue to collaborate with the local businesses and residents to find out what those quality of life issues are for our residents and business owners so that we can more effectively deploy the team on a daily basis. And then lastly, I wanted to highlight a program that we have at the Sheriff's Department called the YANA program, or the You Are Not Alone program. This is a program that you may or may not have heard of in the past. It was most prevalent during the COVID timeframe, and it's a program that YANA stands for You Are Not Alone, and it's targeted to our residents who are 55 and over, or if they're under 55 but they have some type of disability and they don't have any family or friends in the area that regularly check on them. This program is a volunteer-based program through the police department, and our volunteers will set up times or daily calls with these people to just check in on them, make sure their needs are being met, help link them up with services if they need it, and just really be there as a good neighbor and as a good friend for those who don't have those people who regularly check up on them. So I wanted to highlight that. What the team doesn't do, which I think is as important, is they don't give rides to appointments, they don't run errands for people, and they don't distribute medication. But with that being said, with our contacts in the community, our resources such as the fire department, we can find resources that will help them with what they need. It's just a matter of making sure that they know that we're there for them and we can help them to find those resources. So if you're interested, if you know somebody who's interested for the community, just please call the Sheriff's Department, ask to talk to somebody about the YANA program or the You Are Not Alone program. We'll reach out to them. Like I said, the numbers have dwindled since the COVID time, but the program is still very much active. We still do it on a monthly and daily basis, but we just want to remind the community that it's there for them if they need it. So, and with that, any questions?
Thank you, Captain. Any questions for our Sheriff's Captain? Great work, sir. Thank you. Chief?
Mayor and council, good evening. So this will be your report for July for the fire department. Calls for service in July was 833, or about 27 911 calls a day. Decreased a little bit from June, which was a real busy month for us as well, but up 12% since this time, same time last year. So we keep kind of trending on that busier. A couple significant incidents we had. we'll fire off the freeway half acre. I went immediate need to the Green Spot Iron Bridge to run operations on the Abbey Fire. Same thing for the Vista Fire. Went up there and ran night ops for the Lytle Creek Fire for the first day. And then this little 20-acre fire I had here in Loma Linda, which is not necessarily us, but it is us because we cover the whole area. So, and if you look at the Park Fire, it's 470,000 acres. So if we don't stop them small, that's a lot of Yucaipas in 470,000 acres, like 20 times the size of Yucaipa, just for perspective. Some PR events and community outreach we were able to do the permitting and standby for the 4th of July fireworks. So there is a little bit of work that goes into that so we can shoot stuff in the air in California. We were happy to do that and glad the weather participated. I don't want to be that guy that shuts down the fireworks show, so America. And then the Firecracker 5K, the fire department was able to partner with community services and the Health Yucaipa, and we did we're partners on the 5K, and that's my kiddo right there with Captain Cal, our ginormous mascot. And we did some ribbon cutting, some grand opening stuff, and this was our 5K overall winner right here. So we did not able to be here just because due to fire activity, but we did hire a new battalion chief for the area. So he's our state CAL FIRE appointed battalion chief, and I'm our city person, obviously. So Brian Nicholson, and he'll be around, kind of similar background to me, paramedic background, went to camp for a decade and then is now on a battalion chief. So we did sign the auto aid, as you guys are well aware of. Con fires moving forward. So as far as the command and general staff level, everything's going smooth, and we're still looking at that October 1st transition level, or transition date, sorry. And upcoming, just want to remind you, I know we'll have one more council meeting between now and then, but so you can put it on your calendars. 9/11 ceremony right here at City Hall at 4 p.m. and hope everybody's welcome. Hopefully they can make it. That's all I have for you, unless you have other questions.
Thank you, Chief. Questions of our fire chief?
No.
Great work, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Madlock, let's talk about code enforcement.
All right, so here is the Code Enforcement Division's monthly report for July of 2024. Just kind of heads up, we did receive 195 new cases, and 43 of them were resolved by the end of the month. Top cases were overgrown vegetation. It is the end of kind of the summer period, so that's when a lot of that dry brush is there. So anyone that has overgrown vegetation, especially along kind of the higher fire severity zone areas, make sure that you guys are trimming it. Maintenance of property or in the public right-of-way, trash and debris, operable vehicles, and then unpermitted construction was the top cases for the month. Code enforcement officers did conduct 309 inspections, and then 104 total cases were closed out. The city did receive $14,000 in citation fees for the month. And then as part of our kind of unique inspections, a comprehensive mobile home park inspection was done for the month. And then there were 5 inspections at our different chicken ranches, and no violations were reported. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben. Questions of Mr. Madlock? Code enforcement. Thank you so much, sir. Code enforcement's not as popular as a fire department, police department. Sorry, Ben. I still like you, Ben. That's not a reflection of you, sir. All right. City Council conflicts of interest disclosure in compliance with the Political Reform Act, Levine Act, and under common law, this agenda item provides an opportunity for City Council members to disclose any potential conflicts of interest related to any other item on the agenda. The purpose of this disclosure is to ensure transparency and maintain public trust in the council's decision-making process. Is there anybody who has conflicts of interest to disclose?
No.
Hearing none. Moving on to the consent agenda. This consists of items 1 through 8. Is there any member of the council that wishes to remove an item from consent for further discussion? Is there a motion to continue the consent agenda item?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by our Mayor Pro Tem,
I'll second.
seconded by Councilman Garner. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Items 1 through 8 pass. Item is number 9. This is our department report by our Assistant City Manager. Review and consider fiscal year 24-25 community activity grant applications. Ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item involves 2 in-kind CAG requests. However, last Thursday, the city did receive notice from the Downright Blessed Foundation requesting that we pull their grant because they found another venue at no cost for their event. At this time, you only have one grant request before you from ILCS seeking a waiver to use the community center gymnasium for the girls' volleyball games. Of the $40,000 budgeted for in-kind fee waiver requests, you have a remaining $1,495 available. ILCS is seeking $1,782. If you do approve using the remaining CAG funds, ILCS would be required to fund the remaining $287. At this time, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion or discussion?
I move approval.
Approval for the
I'll second.
$14.95.
$14.95.
Yeah.
Okay. Second, our motion made by Councilman Duncan, seconded by our Mayor Pro Tem. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to to public comment. If there are any speakers who wish to be heard during this time, public speaker comments are located in the back. And please fill out your name, indicate your address, and hand them to our city clerk. As a reminder, you have 3 minutes, and time cannot be ceded to another speaker. First speaker is Dr. Hanson Wong, followed by Mrs. Colleen Wong. Colleen, is Dr. Wong still here? We'll call him up last. Mrs. Colleen Wong, you're up next then, and we'll see if Dr. Hanson Wong returns. After Mrs. Wong would be Mr. Lloyd Rexstad. There's a good doctor.
My name is Hanson Wong. I'm sure you don't know that. I live in Yucaipa, and it's exciting that you're bringing us to the new age with electronics, but being old-fashioned, I can barely deal with a cell phone. So anyway, a couple items. Since you postponed the warehouse thing, it gives me an opportunity to inform you of things that I think would benefit the community and benefit you as far as your knowledge of what's going on. First of all, if you look at agenda item 10, there were 3 major things on there. There was the change in the freeway project specific plan. There was also a land change, and then there was a warehouse. When you have 3 major changes, I feel it's important because different people will have different viewpoints, maybe on one of them, maybe on 2 of them, that we separate these into 3 separate agenda items. That way, you can hear it out, they can present it, and then you can decide what you think is appropriate for the city. So that's my first recommendation. The second thing is, I want to commend you. I spent until 3 o'clock this morning reading this stupid long packet, and half the stuff I couldn't understand, and I might have to ask some of the city planners to explain it to me. But anyway, and then to top it off, at the very end, I see this 13-page letter from some law firm that talks about all the SEIR stuff, and I go, what the heck? What are they talking about? Slapped my face a few times, drank a little water, and I continue. But I think those things are important. Again, the letters, the concerns, there were the concerns of some of the landowners that we need to look at. So I think that in bad financial times, we really need to look at the finances. I would like to see, and that depends on you, a financial impact report on the original plan, the current plan, and maybe the best plan. Maybe there's a better plan that we get more commercial, more sales tax revenue, and so on. So again, it would be nice for them to present a financial impact to you so you can say, hey, you know, this is going to help our city, our structural defect, and so on. So that's my advice on that portion. And there was some bias that, again, probably not biased wordsmithing, okay? I sat at the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission could say, did not approve this plan, or you could say they denied the plan. But when you say that the Planning Commission did not disapprove of the plan, anyway, they worded it so that you're not sure that they denied it, and you need to know that they did deny it. Thank you. Sorry for that.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Colleen Wong?
Colleen Wong, from Yucaipa. Good evening. As a member of the Yucaipa Preservation Society, I'm objecting to your EIR that's being presented. I'm holding a letter from the Bloom Collins and Ho LLC, attorneys at law, sent to Ben Matlock as regards the Freeway Corridor specific plan in regards to this project. And their findings are that this EIR is flawed and needs to be redone. Thank you.
Thank you,
Needs to
ma'am.
have a public hearing.
Mr. Lloyd Rexdad, followed by Mrs. Martha Glubka.
Hi, I'm here to speak in opposition to the Freeway Corridor specific plan. One of my primary objections relates to the unspeakable congestion that will be created. There are no theoretical traffic studies in the world that can accurately project the reality that will exist when all the semis begin using Live Oak Canyon interchange for access and egress to and from these proposed warehouses. This interchange is one of the principal access points to the city of Yucaipa, once considered the crown jewel of the Inland Empire. If this project is approved, the jewel will be severely tarnished. Access to Yucaipa will be like accessing the Long Beach shipyards. It will be unmanageable. Additionally, the level of pollution will be greatly increased with all the vehicles idling as they wait in the traffic lines. In spite of the fact that big rigs are mandated to become more carbon neutral, the sheer increase in the number of vehicles will totally offset the impact of this mandate. The promised revenue from this development of this project does not come close to offsetting the negative impact of the project. We know promised revenue is based on hopeful, pie-in-the-sky projections and not absolute guarantees. The citizens of Yucaipa are not dazzled by inflated revenue promises. I fully understand that the current landowners want to sell the property. They have every right to do so, but their desire to sell does not mandate that the city should jump through hoops to make major modifications to an existing freeway corridor specific plan in order to make the property sellable. They can list the property under the existing plan and solicit buyers under that existing plan. This proposed plan will not improve the attractiveness and livability of the city of Yucaipa. The proposed project is not good for the future development of Yucaipa. This project must be decisively defeated. Do what is right, and please vote no.
Okay, I need to take a breath first. Okay, good evening, City Councilman. Martha Glubka, from Yucaipa. You'll hear a different speech from me tonight. This is personal, it's heartbreaking, and something I never want anyone to suffer through again. I've handed you a copy of The Causes of Leukemia from the Mayo Clinic's website that cites benzene as a cause for leukemia. The book I shared for you earlier, and Chris Mann, I want to thank you for helping me with that, for the reasons you shared. The fourth photo I have not looked at in 21 years since I took it. And it was never shared with anybody but my family, but I dug it out so you can feel and see the repercussions of what your decision tonight could mean for other families. My precious son Jimmy had just turned 5 when he was diagnosed with leukemia. He went through 42 months of daily chemo given orally, intrathecally through his spine, intravenously through a catheter, and that was surgically implanted into his chest. If this was not uncomfortable enough, he also endured countless bone marrow aspirations as well. Being immune compromised kept him from attending kindergarten first and halfway into 2nd grade before he was allowed to attend school. He was allowed only to be at home and go to the clinic. During that time, his friends would come to our home and they'd play by using walkie-talkies through the window of our home. If he had a fever of 100, it was automatically in the hospital for 3 days on IV antibiotics. If other children were sick, if our other children were sick, they had to stay somewhere else, as it endangered his life. He would ask us and other people, what was it like when you had cancer? He assumed everyone did. During that time, he watched 20 of his friends pass away, ranging from a 3-month-old to an 18-year-old and every age in between. These kids became family to him, and he to them. The hospital was his second home as he spent over 350 days there. Then after 42 months, he was declared cured. He often told me that he felt his cancer would come back, and so we went to therapy, and he was diagnosed with PTSD. 18 months later, he relapsed with a vengeance, and 6 months later, we prepared for bone marrow transplant at City of Hope with full body radiation, 3 times a day, and massive doses of chemo that took him to death's door, and then they did the transplant, AKA a rescue. It worked, but we never left there together. 7 weeks later, his body could take no more, and he passed away in my arms. I sincerely pray that you will make the right decisions and take this into consideration when you vote tonight, but obviously that's changed. A quote I want to share with you from Martin Luther King: "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent on the things that matter." My son's life mattered, and so tonight I know he'd be proud of me for continuing to fight his fight so others won't have to be exposed to the chemicals that diesel fuel will put in our air. He was an extraordinary young man with the courage of a lion and the gentleness of a lamb. He was my hero, and I hope he'll give you the courage to do the right thing. Thank you.
Is there any member of the council who has any business to report? Mr. City Manager, do you have any announcements to make?
No, sir.
The next regular meeting of the Yucaipa City Council, Housing Authority, and Successor Agency will be held Monday, September 9th, 2024, here at the City Hall. We'll adjourn the meeting. The time is 7:07.